And we're back. Happy Monday afternoon. I'm Alek Dincoff, here speaking with Steve Todd, founder, creator of Open Sourced Workplace. Steve, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Alek. How are you doing? You warmed up a little bit after that winter freeze you received?
We had a winter freeze. We lost water. We had a fiasco. We lost internet, and everything is back on currently. So it's been a real bumpy ride, but I'm happy to be here.
Good. Glad to hear. We're due snow tomorrow, so I don't think it'll be quite as bad as what you've received, but we'll see how that turns out tomorrow.
As long as it's not here.
Fair enough. Makes sense. I'd agree with you. That's funny.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're in high spirits. So, has anything new happened? The launch of the new website came out. We talked about it last week. We got really in depth there. If you missed it, go check out that episode. It's great. But specifically, right now, has anything new changed? What's been the initial feedback from people that have visited the site, people you've spoke to? I want to hear all the details, all the goods, the bads, the, oh, I shouldn't have, or I'm glad I did.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate the question. I appreciate the length you went into asking the questions last week. It took me really quite by surprise, where obviously, we just launched the site. That's really what we should be talking about. But actually, I came in programmed last week to talk about something completely different. And you clearly steered the conversation towards the new site, which obviously is what we really, I should have been probably better prepared for that. But that's kind of funny how it worked out. So no, the site's going well, actually. I'm really surprised. It's actually ranking in Google as well already, some of the new stuff. So I'm really, really surprised. A lot of the things that are ranking in Google are actually the co-working locations. So right up to now, I think I've got like 330 co-working locations. So I have all WeWork North America locations. I have Serendipity Labs. I have Industrious. All their locations on the site. The tech space, I've got all their US locations on the site, and working through a few others right now. And obviously that takes a little bit of time, but these things are ranking already on Google, which is really, really surprising. People are clicking on it. So very, very surprised, but it's good. It's good. Got a lot more content on the site this last week. A lot more additional glossary terms, and also new content. So it's been a lot of work. The one thing glitch, you say, what would I have changed differently? The way I've structured the membership, we ran into something this week whereby a service provider signed up as an end user, and because I didn't want them on the end user side, I declined. But if I decline their email, they can't use that email to sign up on the service provider side, which was something that I hadn't really thought through and really thought about. So I need to scratch my head. I'm working with a developer. Okay, how do we address that? Because it's probably something that will happen, because the sign up for the end user is that much more simpler. And the service provider is a little more involved, given the amount of detail and content that one may provide whenever you're telling people about your business and who you are. So that was one little thing that sort of bubbled up this last week, and still thinking through the quick fix there. But I just sort of say, if anyone's signed up a service provider, if you are a service provider, please do click yes and complete that form. You don't need to complete everything when you are actually signing up. But obviously, the more information you put in, you can sign up and then come back to it at a later time. That's fine. And there's the editing capability within the profile itself. But that's one thing that is sort of not have me pulling my hair out, but sort of like, of course that's an obvious one. But anyway, it is what it is, and we'll put a fix together.
Well, I wonder, because that will continue to happen where somebody misunderstands, they're new to the site, they just want to get on and see the content, so they're just clicking furiously to get through. It's probably going to be more frequent than you'd like. Is there any way perhaps that once they do create their profile, you just accept it and then change them?
Yeah, so I mean that's the quick fix, and that's what's going to take a few days of the developer's code to actually, because he has to really almost go back and rewrite the code for whenever people are setting up for both things, because this I don't know the language or how they do it, but everything's a 1 + 0, and you change that binary, then obviously then it puts people in different directions. And because of the structure of how one side can't talk to the other, it impacts a lot of the site. So that quick toggle, which I thought I would have been able to do, unfortunately that's not in there. So, but that's okay. It's there's going to be a ton of these things that come up over time, But what I haven't done yet, I haven't migrated over the old users, people who sign up for the old site. I've yet to migrate those over. Just working through various things, and I'll start adding them very, very shortly.
Something just clicked when you said somebody signed up for the wrong profile, and you mentioned how one side, the business side, is allowed to speak to the service provider side in case they want to quote or reach out to people. Well, besides being an accident, if somebody has a not malicious intent, but a very, let's say, persuasive marketing strategy, they would want to sign up as a business, reach out to either other service providers or businesses and say, hey, use my service, right? Good luck with that too, because then it's someone who's not accidentally like, you won't catch it. They're going to fill out fields to specifically seem like a business.
Right. No, and that's fair. And to be honest, if that happens, I'm not too concerned about that. Really, what I'm really want to ensure happens, the integrity of the end user environment, that it is for end users and end users only. Service providers will find ways to look through things. They just will. They just do it, and that's okay. And you just, if someone is blatantly abusing the system, then obviously then there's action you can take with that. But it's more the integrity of the end user I want to sort of protect. And obviously the service providers, if you are someone who's going to be pestering somebody else because of the rating system that we have in place, they can get dinged on the rating and the review, and therefore that will obviously impact their influence on the site as well. So while we can't protect for every outcome, hopefully some of those ratings will help alleviate some of the malicious intent that some people may have, or the marketing intent, as you nicely put it.
Of course. Well, if it's community driven and you get a good community, then the cream will rise to the top. It's that simple.
Yeah, let's hope so.
So other than that, does anything come to mind with the site? Anything that perhaps I didn't ask that I should have that comes to mind, and you said, hey, I really wanted to mention this topic. Now, please.
No, there's nothing that you didn't mention, but what actually, what it did realize and sort of hit home to me is, you asking simple questions and me trying to explain, it's not really that straightforward. It's sort of, I live it and I breathe it and obviously created it. So I kind of know what the intent is, but to articulate that and describe that, and for someone to actually really understand what it is not that straightforward. So I will create a video or two to help navigate people through the actual site to sign up and the benefits that one would find by actually using the actual platform. So I will be creating those over the next couple of weeks, and I'll do one from an end user's perspective. I'll do one from various types of service providers. If you're a co-working provider, then there's many ways you can use the platform. You can use the platform, obviously, you create a profile and then you can add your co-working locations. But then with some of the other attributes, by having the photos and the videos and having them and being able to put them onto the platform, link that back to your profile, which is also connected to your co-working location, was then maybe pushing somebody to your sales funnel, if you want, on a website somewhere else. That then creates a lot of connection on the site, which obviously gives credibility whenever Google's searching through the various links and so on forth and content. It'll actually help Google almost increase the rating of what you're actually putting on open source. So I think I can see benefits to that. And then obviously if you're a consultant, perhaps you find people to partner with and who are really good in different geographies as well. And perhaps they can sort of connect and network that way too. So I will create some content to help articulate and explain some of the benefits of open source and how various users can use the tool.
Very good. A walkthrough, a welcome video. Here's what you need to know.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, very good. Those are very helpful, especially when you're trying to do something specific. Like just browsing, looking through the site, or reading an article is fine. But when you're trying to really get into the nitty-gritty of open source workplace, then that's where those videos really shine. That's good. I look forward to seeing them.
Yeah, no, good.
Very good. So let's talk about, well, you've been probably completely full on this website. You haven't probably had any other time to look into other side projects or do other things. This has been the forefront of everything, correct? I just want to make sure I'm not missing a question for you that would otherwise be pertinent.
No, you're not missing anything. This has been everything I've been living and breathing for the last week. That's when I'm not doing my day job, obviously, but yeah, pretty much this is all I've been doing.
Well, it's fun stuff. It's very fun, and you have to love it in order to keep going with it, or it'll drive you mad. So, speaking of fun things, gamification in the workplace, Steve. I may have mentioned this previously. I read the Year of Employee Experience on Open Source Workplace. We'll put a link down here in the description for anyone who wants to actually see the article. But it covers a variety of topics. I just wanted to look specifically at gamification today. Have you, as a manager in your regular life, right, outside of Open Source Workplace, have you ever implemented a game or a gamification process for employees, goals, points, things for incentives to create better either working conditions or improve experience, things like that?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a great question and it's a great topic. And I think as sort of technology is evolving and people are getting used to using technology devices and tools and so on and so forth, there are really clever ways gamification's been used. In many ways, employers are using gamification to actually identify talent, identify skill sets that perhaps isn't achievable or they can see through the naked eye or just sort of Q&A, you know. But, you know, from within our workplace, I mean, we did this last year. You take it from a health perspective. In our team, we did a step challenge where all our teams, we tracked our steps, just trying to encourage each other to sort of stay more fit and healthy. And that's sort of how we gamify some of that stuff. But gamification's been used for a long time. I mean, it's the old carrot and stick, you know, incentive program, right? Here's your goals for the year. Let's gamify that. Okay, you achieve this, then you get rewarded with X, Y, or Z. You know, that's just how that typically works. And we use gamification whenever we're actually doing a lot of design sessions. So rather than actually, you know, you sort of, for just to give you a sort of a very typical example, whenever we're doing a design session, so this is when we're looking at a new building and we're trying to decide, okay, what's the right type of look, feel, texture, color for this specific office and with this specific group of employees, we will provide an array of images that illustrate and showcase different types of workplaces, colors, textures, as I just mentioned. And then what we'll do is we'll ask people to do red and green stickers. So red for the ones you don't like and green for the ones you do. You gamify it and then you pull everything together and you sort of get those sort of questions. And what that does is slowly etch out, you know, things that you don't like. Because sometimes when you know what people don't want, it actually makes it easier to give them what they do want. And people are more open to tell you, I don't like that, right? It's very specific. Sometimes it's, I like it, yeah, I don't mind that, but I don't like that. And whenever you get those and you eliminate those, that sort of helps. So there's a gamification of that. But I think where we sort of see gamification in the workplace, there's two aspects to it. One is, I think, psychological profiles. So some of the, if you think about it, probably started, I want to say with Google in a sense of, right? So for you wanted to apply for Google, you had to work out how to apply for Google. You had to go on the internet, you had to search, then you had to write your script and do whatever it was in the process to actually get your application to Google. So they almost made it a competition for you even to get into the door to get seen. And then moving away from Google, there's other organizations who then, whenever you go to do an interview, what they will actually, do you want to play these computer games? And you're totally unaware what these computer games are doing is profiling you. They're identifying your skill sets, your psychology, your attributes of personality, how you may communicate with people. All these different cool games that you think you're playing and just like relaxing is actually helping the organization make a decision about you. And gamification it's a really interesting concept. It's the debate about is it right, is it wrong, should we be profiling people in this way? And I think as long as people are fully aware that that's what's happening, then I think that's okay. I know from my own perspective, I'd much rather an organization tell me I'm a fit or I'm not a fit, because I don't want to waste my time, and I don't want any organization to be wasting their time with me as well. So I think that's part of it. And the big industry that gamification is really happening on as well is from an employer perspective, is from the health and wellness. There's a lot of organizations are providing programs that employees participate in, and depending on their activity, depending on them, how many times they go to the gym, how many glasses of water they drink, they get points and rewarded. And some organizations offer, vacation days as rewards for depending on how many points you accumulate over specific times. So gamification has been used an awful lot. And it really is a way for social interaction within teams itself. But also the benefits are both two-sided, one to the employer and also to the employee, because it's a win-win. But I really, really am intrigued by the psychological profile, and where will that go further down the road. I'm really, really curious to see how that evolves, and also how people's appetite, reaction, interaction with it, and where that eventually ends up.
That's interesting. You brought up a few different types of gamification that I wouldn't have initially thought of. I like that. Well, I like how interesting it is. Since I've never experienced some of it personally, I don't want to be too quick to say I like it. But yeah. I do want to know what's the most interesting gamification that you found? Not necessarily the best or most productive or the healthiest, but just one that stands out in your mind as that's kind of cool, or yeah, that's a funny one.
Yeah, I mean, and you take about it, right? So gamification just helps you learn, right? There's that aspect to it, right? So you take a lot of the brain games, right, and you play them on the phone, and you do different things, and you're totally unaware that actually it's enhancing your brain activity, right? But there's actually there's a couple of games that I have on the phone that actually are helping improve some of, I don't say psychological, it's not about that, but it's stretching your brain in different ways, right? So it's you're rotating different things at different times. So it's get your cognition, I can't even think of the word, but in essence, where you're sort of thinking steps ahead, and you've been very strategic in how you play different things, right? So in essence, it's just you're stretching yourself, and also you're learning about yourself, because when you finish the game, it'll tell you your psychological profile, what you're good at, what you're not good at, just from playing these games, and it's fascinating. I actually am very intrigued about how you do these things, and they'll be consistent. So you'll do it, months later you'll come back, and it will tell you pretty much what you've done, how you've improved, and it's very interesting.
Very good, very good. Well, that's okay. So the game's actually on your phone. That's exciting. Is there a specific game that you want to share with the audience, or is it just? I can't
remember the name. I have three. I can certainly give it. We can drop it in
sure.
Beneath.
All right. My personal favorite experience, and I say favorite with a grain of salt because of how it went, but it was I'm glad it happened. My favorite experience with gamification was really good, and then really bad. So I was in a working office space environment, and there were deadlines, and there were schedules, and there were things that needed to take place on a monthly basis. And it all came out, and you saw your figures and who did what fast enough, and etc. That was already built into their system. Well, they decided if, as a group, everyone was under a certain amount of time, or met this deadline, there'd be a pizza party. And there are articles out there that show that food motivates people a lot better than a cash prize or something like that. But food motivating people has diminishing value. If you motivate them too much with food, it doesn't work as well. But so the first month, we all got it. Oh my goodness, pizza party, pastas. I think it was some maybe Pizza Hut or something here in the U.S. And there was a wing street, so there were like boneless wings too. It was great. It was good. Everybody was excited. Everybody was giving each other pats on the back. It increased productivity. So they set the bar higher, and they said the same thing. We'll do food as a bonus. We're going to bring lunch in. Everybody's going to celebrate, but we got to hit this next month. And it was, they raised the bar. Some could say they raised it a little too high. Maybe not. But what they definitely didn't do was change their strategy. There's no extra guidance. There's no extra effort being implemented by managers. It was, look, a goal, or look, a carrot, which is good. That's step one. But then maybe follow it up and say, hey, we saw what you did last month. Every single employee, here's specific little things that you could do to actually get your performance even better this month for the next food celebration. But that didn't take place. Anyway, long story short, that month we were off by just a little bit. Just a little bit. Like people pushed, but just a little bit too low. So no party. Well, next month after that, same standard, same party with food, no guidance, but now we're going into the busy season. So things got even harder for us to meet that goal. So we pushed, because in everybody's minds, they were thinking, okay, it's a game, we can do it. We did it the first time. We were so close the second, push really hard, even though we're getting busier, and we almost made it. Third month, almost made it. Same exact thing. We stalled. So what did the management team do? Nothing. They didn't change their style or game at all. They said, hey, same game, same rules, no help from us, go get it. And it got even, and then boom, we were in the busiest month of the season, and everyone knew it. So everyone stopped. You saw motivation drop. It was the worst quality production turnaround time of the year. Obviously it's the busiest time, you're going to see a drop, but it was so substantial because it was more than just a game. It was, here's a challenge you definitely cannot do. You cannot succeed. That's how everyone felt. And it just wrecked everyone's motivation. So gamification can work. I've seen it. First month, success. Second month, pushed really hard without management doing anything, which is something to really think about when management can say, hey, here's an idea, and then they just leave it and it works. Oh, how great. But that's a super big negative impact of gamification that can happen, that I just want to make managers aware. Now, obviously, there's lots of variables. You probably are not in the same industry. The list goes on and on. But keep it in mind. Do you have any thoughts on the story I just shared?
No, I think it goes back to motivation, right? What keeps people motivated, right? And as you were telling the story, I actually always going through my head is, even when you're not hitting those targets, you're probably surpassing what you would have normally hit had they not put that incentive in place. So management's probably very happy, but then that reaction from employees is inevitable, right? Because people can do it, but then as soon as you bend that straw too far, right, it just falls. But I think it's human nature. It's almost what you do, It's just how things, I think, kind of work. It's a great illustrative, and I think if you look across gamification in multiple ways, it's the same tendencies seem to flow out,
Yeah. And as a final thought, just for anyone, if they happen, because you always want more out of employees. You want better sales. You want more value on your dollar. It's nature. It happens. If that straw does break, that bridge does collapse, and the employee's motivation or turnaround or whatever metric you're measuring drops or tanks, don't just leave it. I didn't share that extra portion. The aftermath was just, well, I guess we all suck. And that was a horrible attitude to walk away with. Like nothing else was done. No new game was implemented. Maybe not a game, but no, hey, let's rebuild the team's spirit, right? Nothing was done. So there's pros, there's cons to gamification. Sounds like there could be a lot more pros if done right. If done right.
Yeah, and that's why I really enjoy and really like a little bit of the profiling, but also on the health aspect, because it's a win-win, right? A lot of companies are self-insured, so they benefit from providing the programs. The employees, they get the benefit actually by participating, because it actually leads to better health, right? You're seeing your doctor more regularly, you're exercising, and you're getting rewarded for that. And that reward is, as I said, it can be discounts for whatever, or it can be days off work, and again, it's a win-win for everybody, and I really love what those type of games.
It sounds great. I wish I would have been able to experience one. Just the idea of having, hey, here's a vacation day if you take care of yourself, is amazing, because you're saving the money, healthcare, or saving the company on healthcare costs.
And you're also saving yourself, because it actually lowers your own costs as well. That's
right. So then you don't need that rate. Well, not as big of a raise, because you don't have.
We always need that raise.
That's true. That's true. And on top of that, to have that day off, that stress reliever, right? We're not machines. We can't go, 7 days a week, 24/7, 365. We can't do it. To have that stress relief, that day off, the day of relaxation, an extra one, right? That you feel really good about taking because you earned it. From the game, you earned that day. It gets you in the mindset to come back to work, and sometimes work even harder. It's a win on top of a win on top of a win. Like, it's just fantastic. It's fantastic if done right.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. It's a very interesting topic. And I just love the psychological side of it as well. I think it's really interesting.
I think I'm still the type of person that says, "Don't tell me who I am." You know what I mean? Like, there's a little part of that in me, but I don't mean that to the point where I'm stubborn enough to say this test doesn't make sense. This was dreamed up by crackpots in a lab. You know what I mean? That's not my philosophy on it. But there's a small niche. I don't know if it's the whole. I just don't like, I'm an American, and the whole freedom mentality. Anyway.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I was going for a dialogue, and then I remembered, oh wait, you have an accent. Never mind.
I do have
one
of those
perhaps this isn't the huh?
Yeah, I talk funny. Yeah, I do.
No. Well, if there's nothing else, do you have any curveballs? You love curveballs, right?
I do not. I do enjoy my curveballs, but not today, no.
Okay, fantastic. If that's the case, thank you everyone for joining us again on this wonderful Monday. We hope to see you next Monday. Same place, same time. If you have any questions for us, leave it in the comments of the YouTube video. If you're curious about the article, look for it in the description. Check Open Source Workplace. Other than that, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.